Have you ever heard a Bible story that made you go, "Wait, what just happened?" Well, get ready, because today we're diving into one of the most intense and debated stories in the entire Old Testament. It involves a prophet, a group of unruly young men, and two bears. This is the story of Elisha and the bears, a tale that has puzzled people for centuries. Was it a just punishment? An overreaction? Let's unpack the events of 2 Kings chapter 2 and try to understand what was really going on. Our story begins right after a major event. The great prophet Elijah, Elisha's mentor, has just been taken up to heaven in a fiery chariot. Imagine the weight on Elisha's shoulders. He's just watched his master ascend in a whirlwind, and now the prophetic mantle has literally fallen onto him. He picks up Elijah's cloak, parts the Jordan River with it just as Elijah had done, and officially begins his own ministry. The other prophets see this and recognize that the spirit of Elijah now rests on Elisha. He is the new leader, God's chosen voice for Israel. With this new authority, Elisha travels from Jericho toward a city called Bethel. Now, Bethel has a complicated history. It was once a place of sacred worship, but by this time, it had become a center for idol worship, specifically the worship of a golden calf set up by King Jeroboam. So, the spiritual atmosphere in Bethel was hostile to a true prophet of God. Elisha wasn't just taking a casual stroll, he was walking into enemy territory as God's representative. As he's making his way up the road, a large group of young men comes out from the city. The Bible says there were 42 of them, and they start to mock him. They chant, "Go on up, you bald head! Go on up, you bald head!" Now, this might sound like simple schoolyard teasing, but it was much more serious than that. Calling him bald head was a deep insult. In that culture, hair was often a sign of strength and virility. Calling him bald was a way of calling him weak, insignificant, and maybe even sterile. It was a direct attack on his honor and his authority. But the phrase, "go on up," is even more chilling. Remember what just happened to his master Elijah? He went up to heaven. These young men were essentially saying, "Hey, bald guy, why don't you disappear like your master did? Go ascend to heaven and get out of here." They weren't just making fun of his appearance. They were mocking his prophetic role and, by extension, mocking the God who had just performed that incredible miracle for Elijah. They were challenging his legitimacy and telling him he wasn't welcome. Faced with this hostile mob, Elisha turns around, looks at them, and pronounces a curse on them in the name of the Lord. This is a key point. He doesn't curse them out of personal anger or vanity. He acts as God's prophet, invoking divine judgment on those who are openly defying God's authority. And the response is immediate and terrifying. Suddenly, two female bears emerge from the woods and attack the group, mauling 42 of them. It's a shocking and brutal scene. Why would God allow this? Well, many scholars believe this was a severe but necessary act to establish Elisha's authority right at the beginning of his ministry. Israel was in a state of spiritual rebellion. If the nation was going to have any hope of turning back to God, they needed to respect his messengers. This event sent a clear and terrifying message to everyone, especially in the rebellious city of Bethel. Do not trifle with God's prophet. The authority he carries is real, and the consequences for disrespecting it are severe. This story serves as a stark reminder of the holiness of God and the seriousness with which he views his representatives. It's not about a grumpy prophet getting revenge. It's about God defending the honor of his office and sending an unmistakable signal to a nation that had lost its way. It's a difficult story, for sure, but it highlights the gravity of rebellion and the absolute authority of God in a way that few other stories do. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this deep dive interesting, be sure to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.